Hi, Jay. Thank you so much
Oh,
for being here with me on Zoom on this lovely evening.
it's a great evening here.
And look, I can see light coming in your window. It's dark outside where I am, so yeah,
Yeah, you're a little further.
yeah, the sun has passed me by. But this
Yeah,
is great. You are a real live Tigers fan, which I have been seeking.
beautiful.
I'm so excited I found you. And I want to
Who's
start out.
this?
I found you. I want to ask you how you became a Tigers fan. Tell me the story.
Yeah, so I've been a Tigers fan since I can remember. So it kind of comes through a whole family. So my grandpa, actually, I have it. This is cool. I forgot I have this up here. My grandpa. I'll see if I can get it close enough
Oh
at an
yeah.
angle. So in 1954, was contacted by the Tigers to go play. Um, and yeah, super cool, right? So he was a stud. He was a machine when it came to baseball. And then as he started going through that process, had kids and made the parenting decision to not pursue that any further, which then ultimately became a funny thing because he got hired by the Autos, which in here in Detroit is like the big deal. But the joke was that he never actually worked because everyone hired him into different areas so that he could be on their softball team. So that was always kind of the joke.
That's great. It's a good story.
So but yeah, so it was, yeah, exactly, right. So yeah, and then my dad was always a huge Tigers fan. My dad's whole side of the family is big Tigers fans. And then it kind of got passed on to me. So I played baseball for 20 some years.
Wow.
And yeah, and so then as time progressed, I got an offer to go and try out with the White Sox, which was super cool. And it was, yeah, super weird. I went and I was the youngest one there by far. I was a child among men, and it was really bizarre. It was so I did that, and then I got a letter to go to Chicago and go do that. And so it was it was one of those things that in my town, in my little tiny town of not that many people, I was through really hard, and I was like, well, this is great. I can do this. And then I got to Chicago and had a very rude awakening that I was not that. So it was really funny. My dad and I went down to Chicago, and it was this big deal. And he always was really good about making it a big deal and how cool that was. But we walked in, and I watched a kid. I wish I knew what his name was. I'd love to follow where he went, but I watched this kid doing a drill, and he was picking up fly balls, crow hop, and throw to home. And he would cross second base at 101 miles an hour. And my dad and I looked at each other and were like, okay, well, this was fun. This was great. Yep. And so I did 2 days worth of these tryouts, and it was super cool. I mean, I did you'd pitch, and there was 45 radar guns pointed at you from these different colleges and teams and stuff, and it was fun, but wow, was it intimidating. So yeah, so baseball's just kind of always been part of my life, and now today, I mean, I think I can reach out and touch about 10 Tigers things from where I'm sitting right now. So it still is very much a part of my life. And now I get to pass it on to my daughter, which is super cool.
That is all amazing. I'm in awe. So as already a small personal side story, I played my first softball game ever yesterday. And
Nice.
yeah, well, yeah, I mean, as I said, I am basically a two-tool player. One tool is speed, and the other tool is enthusiasm. That's all
Sometimes
I got.
that's what you need.
But it was fun. But it was interesting. Even just my rec league, beer league, like softball team, all of whom I didn't know. I walked up and they had me play catcher, which makes sense. But also I was like, oh, I've never literally been at this angle before for anything, so cool. But watching these non-professional, very amateur softball players come up and swing was even that. I was like, oh, that is a level I
Yeah.
will never be at. So imagining you watching people who are possible future major leaguers, can't imagine.
Oh yeah. 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 There was one kid that we played against in my league, and he went on and he actually went pro, and we played again. But I remember the first time I went up against him, and I was like, okay, so that's what real baseball looks like. Got it. Okay, now I know. This is great. And even he went on to just be like, I think he became like a bullpen catcher. Like he was just like a warm up guy. Like he never, even that never made it. And I was just like, this is amazing. But it's so funny though, because we'll get more into this later. But the thing that I remember the most growing up is I went to a camp. I went to a lot of baseball camps growing up, but I had a coach at Michigan State University one time that told me it was the greatest thing for a high school kid to hear. So there was a bunch of high schoolers, and high school boys, we know exactly what we're talking about all the time. Mm-hmm. And so we were all talking about, we're like, oh yeah, that guy sucks, that guy's terrible, blah blah. And he had this coach come up and he goes, guys, do you understand how incredibly good you have to be the worst player in the major leagues? And we're like, and I've remembered that to this day, because it's like, every time I watch these guys play, like it's so easy to get frustrated with them and be like, you're a professional baseball player. Now I will stand by, they should all be able to bunt. That drives me nuts that professional baseball players can't bunt. But I do always like to put things in perspective of like, they're still really, really good. Yeah. Even on their worst days.
It was fitting that I was behind the plate during my softball game, because one of my hills that I die on is defending Gary Sanchez, and I was back there. I think probably I caught maybe 3 pitches the whole day. Everything else I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go get that. I'm just gonna go get that one. First of all, in my defense, it was my first time ever, but also just like think everything I had to think about just back, even though I'm not calling pitches, I'm not framing pitches, I'm not doing half of what they do. Even what I was doing, I was like, oh, this is so hard. And every time I watch a game and I'm like, gosh, why is he so slow? He couldn't beat that out. I think that guy would smoke me in a foot race. I would be in the dust.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it is good to have that kind of perspective.
Absolutely.
But I have to ask.
Here's the fun thing. So here's the fun thing about speed is, especially in the slow pitch softball. So when I was all the way through high school, the joke was that I could not run. It didn't matter if you were chasing me with a knife, you're just going to catch me. I was just slow. It's just the way it was. And so I started playing softball much later on after college and everything. And but I was playing in a league where I was the youngest one by far, by like 30 years far. And I got up to the plate one time, and a guy yelled, "All right, guys, look out! This guy's got wheels." And I called my dad that night, and I was like, "You'll never believe what they just said." And so it became the big joke. It was, yeah. Super so you just have to have a good comparison. You just need a slower comparison, because you look way faster than.
That's a good philosophy. All right, that was okay. So I love all of that. I love all the tie-ins to you and your Tigers love and your family. So many of us get it from our families. It's really, that's what we love about baseball. It just brings people together. It's beautiful. But yes. About your Tigers. So I am looking at what they did last season, just for context. And, we know the Tigers are in a phase right now where they are, as we say, rebuilding. They're building towards a great future.
So here's the thing about that. Rebuilding should take 3 years. We are on year 5. So yes, we're rebuilding, and that's what we're living on. That's the hopes that we're living on. But yeah, we need to rebuild a little quicker, because last year was not great. Last year was really painful, and unfortunately, this year's not really looking like it's going to be much better.
So last year, for context, for anyone who hasn't watched the Tigers as you have, they went 23-35 in the shortened season last year, it looks like, which was 5th in the AL Central, which, to be fair, the AL Central had 3 playoff teams, and you played a lot of games against some really good teams. You were only 2 games behind Kansas City, so there you go. There's a silver lining for you. But tell me, watching the team last year, what did you, other than rebuild faster, what did you see that stuck with you?
I want to stick with the rebuilding part of it, because I do think that we have young guys, right? I think the hard part that we're having last year, there was some good things, but we are very young in our organization, and especially in our pitching rotation. Like it's a young group. They're learning. The shortened season was actually probably good for part of them, some of them, because we have a young group. We don't really have a good veteran pitcher, so we don't have like that leader for some of these young guys. You know, Casey Mize and those guys, like they're young. So I think that there was a lot to learn last year about things. I think as a fan, it was probably good that it was a shortened season, because I think that's the only thing that kept us from not losing 100 games, is that there wasn't 100 games. But we're getting there. And I think, I think last year is equivalent to the beginning of this year. I think that there is some promising things. And I think that there'll be some things that'll have to happen at the trade deadline if we're going to even do anything. I think that, unfortunately, I think there's a couple guys that have to go this year at the trade deadline because their worth isn't going to grow, and we're not a playoff team. So I think that there's going to have to be some things that'll happen and move. But yeah. I don't know. I think last year was the shortened season was good for us. I think it was good for the young guys to get some games in. I mean, for some of them, it was their first season, or at least in their first couple seasons. And so, we're going to get there. But last year was rough. Last year was hard to watch.
I can imagine. I think that's a really good point, though, especially because, yes, the major prospects or major young exciting players are mostly pitchers. And the hardest thing, as far as I can tell from the outside looking in, is with young pitchers, you want to get them experience, but you also don't want to put them in a position where they're going to fail a lot and be frustrated. But you have to limit their workload somewhat, because the way people are built up nowadays, understanding the body more than we used to, we don't just throw a kid out there and say, good luck, 200 innings are yours. So it's kind of nice not having to do the thing where you moving back and forth in the bullpen to the rotation, not having to keep them in AAA and start them every 10 days. So that was helpful, I imagine, for your kids.
Absolutely. And there's some management things that were nice to kind of start to figure out, or not. It was, I don't know. All around, I think that last year was our key building year, because we had been rebuilding forever. It feels like it was nice. It was nice to get these guys in and get some rotations, get some at bats for some of these guys too. I mean, our nothing translated over apparently, because this year's not great either. But I don't know. We're getting there.
It's so early. I mean, okay. Yeah. So I looked at what happened. So yes, this year it's very, very early. The Tigers right now, as we speak, are at 8-16, which, hey, considering my Yankees had the worst record in the majors like 3 days ago, I'm feeling not so bad for you. You're going to be all right. But what was interesting to me, and maybe this is something about how young they are, maybe it's just weird lifetimes right now with Corona and everything, but it's been very streaky. Like they got swept by Cleveland.
Yeah.
Then they swept Houston, who had been on a red hot start to the year.
I think there was some anger issues there with AJ Hinch becoming our manager. I think there was some anger issues in there that they got handled.
Well, I forgot about that. You're right. That's a really good. But or maybe he just knows how to beat his old team. There's also that option.
There could be that. I mean, I didn't hear any trash cans, but it doesn't say they weren't existing.
No, but he knew where they were and he destroyed them. That's why. That's why he swept Houston. See.
That's right.
Yeah, but then you got swept by Oakland, who was red hot. So it's going in. It's a sweepy season so far.
Very much.
And I mean,
and then we moved into Kansas City and got swept there.
Yeah.
And but we won last night, which is good. We got the White Sox last night. We won last night, and we got Casey Mize on the mound tonight for the White Sox. So hopefully we can do something there.
That's great. I dropped him for my fantasy team, which means he will be great. That is how that goes, right?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that then so much.
You're welcome. It wasn't for him. I like Casey Mize. I realized I had too many starters and not enough relievers, so I had to drop somebody, and he got the short straw. But the season's long.
That's
so yeah. I was looking at what the Tigers did in the off season, and it looked to me as though, and this maybe just speaks to they didn't have that many like name brand players on their team last year, but I found a lot of adds and not a lot of subtractions from the team, which is
you don't have anything to get rid of.
which is because of that. But it was cool. As I was looking, because I just didn't remember most of this. Just I'm gonna throw out the names I saw, and then you tell me who you think is interesting. So they picked up in free agency Jose Urena, starting pitcher. Also Robbie Grossman, left fielder. Wilson Ramos, catcher, was in the Mets last year. Jonathan Scope, who is a second baseman, but apparently now plays first. Also, Renato Nunez, third baseman slash infielder. Nomar Mazzara, DH. Julio Teheran, starting pitcher, and Derek Holland, who I thought was a starter, but turns out he's been a reliever for the past couple years upon further investigation. What you got?
Yeah. So, yeah, you know, there was a couple names in there I was really excited about until the season started. Yeah, and I know, and you know, and it's in it. That's not really fair to them entirely, because we've been, as a Tigers fan, I have to say that we've been dealt bad cards. It's, you know, it just happens, and we're getting there. So a couple of those guys are good. Ramos was a good addition.
Yeah.
I was really excited about him ahead of time. I wish that he would learn how to frame a pitch. That would be helpful.
Yeah.
But you know, he was probably my favorite addition. Jose Urena was a good one. I think he's going to have a good season. I think he's got to get going. He's got to get moving. But I like him. I like him overall. But in our rotation, you know, he's 3, 4, 3. No, we didn't, like you said, we didn't have much to deal. So it wasn't like we couldn't really make a lot of trades. We couldn't really do much in the off season, because anybody that we do have that was still worth anything, their contracts are so massive, we can't really get rid of them, i.e. Cabrera. And really, we don't want to, right? Like
You can't get rid of Miguel
right.
Cabrera as he's about to hit all the milestones that exist.
Exactly. I mean, he was with us for the Triple Crown. Now we just got to hang on to him all the way through. I want him to get to that next home run mark, because he's getting there. He's picking away at it. I wish he'd pick a little. I wish he would do something in between the home runs. Really is more what I'm after. But that's not seeming to happen right now. So, but I think
I was just gonna say about where I was surprised to find, as I was looking at this, I was like, oh yeah, he's their DH. He's played half his games at first base.
Yeah, he's still cruising at first base. Not as often as he used to. But yeah, I mean, he's actually a great first baseman. He hustles, which is great. I wish he would listen to the third base coach and not try and round to go home when he shouldn't. But he's a freight train, so God bless the catcher that tries to stop him in the way. But I mean, I think that he's an interesting guy to watch. He's my favorite guy to watch by far. And because he doesn't always hit home runs, but when he does, holy cow! Like last night, I think he hit like a 454 home run. I mean, just the dude can still swing. He's like 34, 35 now.
80.
And he can swing. Dude can crush it. So, and plus he is by far my favorite person to watch on the field. He's absolutely hysterical. He messes with all the guys, because at this point, he's been in the league long enough, he knows everybody. Yes. But also, when you play like that, you also get to do things differently. Yeah. So if you've never watched it, there's a video out. I don't remember how it was that I came across it, but there's a video of all the times that he messed with runners that were on first, and it's hysterical. And he's just so comfortable. He just, nothing matters to him. And it doesn't matter if he's having the worst game or the best game. His expressions are pretty much the same. He's just a happy guy, and which is great, which is fantastic. I mean, there's times when he's doing terrible, and you'd wish that maybe he didn't smile so much about doing terrible, but
I think that's great. I mean, I love Cabrera too, and I think it's the most fun is having a first baseman who's fun, because they get to see everybody. So you get all the fun shots of them like making up each other laugh and goofing off. I love that stuff. I also think that it's easy as fans, and I'm a Yankees fan, so our fan base tends to be I don't know, a bit intense. So I think it is nice to remember that for these players, yeah, they're obviously trying to win, but they have to get out there every day and play 162 games. So it's something very commendable to be said about having that positive attitude, especially because not everyone can do that. So having a guy on the team who can, and especially if it's a guy who's in a leadership role like Cabrera, that's such a good influence on everybody else. Because you're gonna have your ups, you're gonna have your downs, and guys are gonna get down on themselves. But knowing that Miggy's always right there to just, poke you until you smile, that's gotta be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, so Cabrera's history with us is interesting because he's had quite the roller coaster, right? So he came on a while ago now, but he got to go through the greatest pitching rotation in baseball history, right? So Verlander, Scherzer, Fister. I mean, we did all of it. We still couldn't get it done, but I'm not bitter about that at all. But now he's got to come down from that, and now he's got to run into the last 5 years of rebuilding years, and I'm sure it's rough. So it's good for him that he can remain happy about it. He can remain enjoying the game. And of course, if I signed a couple $100 million contract, I'd probably be pretty happy about playing baseball too.
For sure.
So
Yeah, it probably is weird for someone who's had such an amazing career to be with a team that's not really in a place where it's providing that competitive edge. At the same time, he's a Hall of Famer, so he can kind of
awesome.
enjoy the end, ease into the end, and hopefully, a guy like that on a team full of young kids, that's amazing. What a cool guy to be able to learn from.
Absolutely, absolutely, and he's taken a huge initiative with the city as well. Like he has become like the voice of it. Actually, just today, he just signed on. Yeah, you saw it. He signed on with Whitmer to do like a big push for vaccination. I loved it.
I
I was
love it so much.
like, it's so nice that, and I know that it can get really annoying when celebrities use their voice to do, this doesn't feel like that. Like this doesn't, right? Like it doesn't feel like he's using it inappropriately.
No.
And especially because he doesn't usually do that. Like especially with government things, he does not generally do. So, but it's cool. I mean, he's a great advocate for the city. The Tigers in general are a great advocate for the city, but he really has become kind of the staple, especially as he was racking up the home runs after home run, and the year he got the Triple Crown. I mean, he was everywhere, and they do feel very accessible. Like the whole team just seems accessible. Like you can go see them. Like you can, I mean, there's a bar downtown that you can usually run into them. Like during the season, like it's just so funny. It's just such an interesting team that way.
That is incredible. I'm already telling you that when I travel to Detroit to see the Tigers, you're going to take me to that bar, and I will.
Absolutely.
And I love everything Miguel Cabrera is doing with the vaccination. To me, that's a public service that he is performing that is imperative and wonderful, and will probably reach people who otherwise might not get their shot. Get your shot, everyone. Speaking of though, guys, I want to meet at a bar when I go to Detroit. The one pickup over the offseason that I didn't mention is Akil Badu, who is my new favorite Tiger, maybe second to Miguel Cabrera. So the Yankees and Tigers play each other a lot during spring training, and I was listening to all those games on the radio, and I just kept hearing that name again and again and again. And the announcers were just kind of mystified at how incredible this random. He was a Rule 5 draft pick, right, from the Twins, which basically means they just kind of let him go because, to be fair to them, he's very young and coming off an injury. But that kid is awesome.
I know. He is like my reason for continuing to watch, even though we're getting destroyed. He like, oh, he came out of the gate this season with just fire on his feet. He was just running, and he's so fascinating to watch because he's just a naturally good player. I mean, he's good and he works hard at it, but you can tell by his swing, by the way he does anything within baseball movements. It's almost poetic to watch. He's just smooth. He's good. He's got a great swing. He knows how to work the plate. He knows what he's doing. He can work a count like nobody's business. It's just, and then to turn on and swing with power. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. In the first few games, it was almost like, okay, what's he gonna do now? What's he gonna do now? So every night with something else. I was really pulling for him to get like a fake cycle. So it was like, because he got the home run, he got the triple, he was getting doubles, he was getting walk up, he got a grand slam. I mean, just all these things. It was like, who is this kid? but he's so much fun to watch, and he's just he just seems like a good kid too in general. I mean, he's happy to do interviews, which, I mean, I guess if you're really living on cloud nine, it's probably great to do interviews. But yeah, he quickly became my favorite this season. Just fun to watch. And there's a couple guys that are really good, but he just stood out.
He's amazing. I mean, it felt like just no one knew quite where he came from. But
No.
normally, someone that has no upper level minor league experience would struggle. And, the season's long. There will be a time when he will struggle. That is how it goes. The pitchers will adjust to him. He'll go through a rough patch, but to come up and have this kind of success, both and also defensively, and also just the way you say, having instincts for the game that carry over, that is special. And that is such a cool gift for Tigers fans.
Absolutely. And it's fun. I mean, especially when we are having a rough season, it's nice to have something like that going on that keeps people interested. I mean, the hard part that we have is, have you ever been up to Comerica Park and around the area? Okay. So the cool part about that area is they call it the district, because within one block we have the Red Wings, the Pistons, the Tigers, and the Lions are all like, yeah, like Cabrera could hit a ball from Ford Field for the Lions and hit Little Caesars, which would go over Comerica Park. Like, everything is right there. It's so much fun. It's super cool. But the problem is if you're going to have a team that's going to constantly underperform, you're going to start losing fans to these other sports that are also easily accessible. But
Right.
guys like Badu and Cabrera, usually, lately not as much, but as he gets closer, I think, to that next benchmark home run number, I think that'll increase again. But it takes guys like that to keep the fan base going and keep them excited about the game. Baseball is a hard one, because unless you are really love the game, I get the argument that it's kind of not fun to watch. I don't believe it, but I do get it, right? I mean, because if you don't understand the intricacies of the game, the nuances of why did that guy just bunt? Why is that guy stealing over there? Why did he take an extra big lead? Like, if you don't understand those kind of things, and it's hard, right? But if you do, then it becomes almost a nerdy game, because it's like, okay, but he's gonna start this one. He's gonna purposely throw a ball outside to start the count, and it's just different. It's a different love of the game, but it takes guys like that in instances like that, and not even an instance, probably not even the right word, because he did it game after game after game. But it takes guys like that to get fans interested again, and then it becomes kind of a revolving door, because if you can get fans interested and get them excited, it gets the players re-excited, it gets them reignited, and you
Yeah.
need it.
Yeah.
You
A
need
guy
that.
like that will get people to come. He's an attraction in and of himself. And
Exactly.
Cabrera too. And yeah, especially as he gets towards milestones, people show up for that. And that's really cool. I
Exactly.
also I say it all the time. My roommate is not a sports person, but she's been subjected to endless sports in the past couple years, and baseball is my favorite. And so she's had to hear endless lectures, impromptu, always on the sport and what it means. And she confirmed the thing I always thought, which is your enjoyment of baseball increases exponentially everything you learn about it. Whereas you can just flip on a basketball game and be entertained for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, Baseball, if you know what's happening, it is fascinating, like can't look away stuff. But if you don't know what's happening, you're like, I don't, this is slow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's the thinking man sport.
It really is, which I get why it can be difficult. Again, I get why it can be difficult to watch if you don't understand it, but I think you hit it spot on. I think the more you know, the more entertaining it becomes, and it's fun to get other people excited with it. But it comes, what other sport? And I could be wrong on this, but what other sport do you go to, sit in the stands, and watch at least five other people around you keeping stats on their own? Like, I, I go to a game, yeah, right? Like, and they're keeping score, and also who else's scorebook can nobody else understand? So there's that too. It's
Yeah. I always have my scrub book. I am that dork at the field. I've been that dork at a minor league field where everyone's like, what are you even doing? And I was like, no, this is great because I don't know who anybody is. This is a real challenge. This is a challenge. No, it's really fun. I think that's great. And Akil Badu is going to be so fun to watch all year. So I've written down who I think is on your roster right now. And we touched on some of them already, but the good news is though your team is pretty healthy with the exception of poor Julio Tehran, who seems like he had one really good start and then got a shoulder injury.
Yeah. Yes. Health is an issue with the Tigers in general. I mean, it seems to be an ongoing issue. We lost Cabrera for like most of the season right after he won Triple Crown, right? So health is not something we're great with. One of our best pitchers on our roster is just coming back from Tommy John. So it's also not, yeah. So health is not in our favor.
Well, I can tell you
But
it's not just you.
yeah, right, right. But it's I don't know. Like part of me part of me longs for the days of the baseball that like my dad used to talk about. Where like these guys would come out and they would play every single game. And in pitchers, now I understand health wise, probably can't do that anymore. But like these guys used to come out and they would pitch an astronomical amount of games. Yeah. So there's pitching records that will never be broken because there's no way that guys can ever even pitch enough to hit them.
Right.
Which is cool, but it does make you wonder, like, how did they never get hurt and our guys always do? How does that happen?
It is crazy. And the 2019 season for the Yankees was the next man up season. The entire lineup was hurt. But it is frustrating. And it does lead to me, at least, every time I see someone do anything on the field, I'm like, is he okay now? Which, not great. But I think some of it is just about how much the game has changed in terms of power and speed and all these things. These guys are just not built the same way as they used to be. The ball didn't used to go 100 miles an hour on or off the bat, like to or from the bat, as it were. So like, there's just a lot happening that is different. Plus, I feel like guys that have Tommy John now to fix their ligament 50 years ago just pitched and just were less effective and then retired.
That's true. That's true. I hadn't thought about it that way, but you're absolutely right. Yeah. You just kind of played through it until you were not invited back anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
yeah.
So I feel that it's frustrating to watch players get hurt. I wish everyone would just stay healthy all the time. It would be much better and much more entertaining. But right. other than Tehran, though, I think only Mazzara is on the IL for you right now, and he's has an ab strain, which maybe won't be so bad. I don't know.
Yeah, that'll probably be a short one. Yeah, I mean, right now, knock on wood, we're good. Yeah. Right. We're okay. Generally, it's about every 10 games or so somebody goes out. But I'm hoping. I think if we can stay healthy for a while, I think if we can get our rotation to actually be our rotation and not have to sub guys out and make them play a day or two earlier than they should, I think we have a good chance of doing a little bit better.
Yeah.
The problem with our pitching, the problem with our pitching, and not to get away from the injury thing, but I think the problem with our pitching is that our offense is awful. I mean, it's really not good. It's hard, right? So as a pitcher, that's frustrating because Boyd went out the other night and pitched the game of his life. I mean, he pitched a great game, but if you have zero offensive help, that means nothing. You're still gonna you can only do so much as a pitcher. You can't also go hit. I mean, unless you're
DeGrom can.
Yeah. Unless you're him. So you can't carry the whole team on a pitcher, and I feel like our trades and stuff have kind of focused on that, and it's always been, what are we going to do for our starting pitchers and how are we going to do this, and for a long time under Leland, and I loved Leland. He was frustrating, so frustrating, but he would build up these incredible teams, but he would like ignore the bullpen, and so then you would have these starting pitchers that would be phenomenal. And then they would, they'd get into 7 and 8 and we'd have a 3-run lead that would just be blown. Right. And so it was getting frustrating. And then, we also had some guys that were the most hot and cold I've ever seen of any pitchers ever. We had Valverde back then, that he came out and had the record for the most saves ever, and then the next year, you might as well just go put the ball on a tee for him, and it was like the very next year. So it was so hard to watch, and you get so frustrated. And Leland, bless him, but he would believe in guys so much, and it's like, but they just hurt you. It was like a bad relationship. It's like, but they hurt you. Why are you inviting him back again? So, but I think we're getting there. I think it's been interesting as we've gone through multiple manager changes in the last couple of years now. It's been interesting to see the movement of guys that are starters getting taken to the bullpen, and I know the season kind of led that way because it was a strange season and we had an odd rotation, but no, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with our rotation. I think if we can keep them healthy for the next, rest of the season, hopefully, I think that we have a chance of not losing 100 games.
Yeah.
Which is sad, but
no, that's improvement. That's what we're looking for in a team like this, is them to take a step.
right.
So let's start there. Let's talk about the rotation a little bit. I didn't look up really any numbers, but I did look up, just as a team, your pitching. And yeah, this is exactly to your point. The pitching in MLB ranks out of 30 teams, your offense, and I just use OPS here as just it's not everything, but it's a good baseline. Dead last, 30th. And then your relievers, ERA, which is a very inexact measure, but in any case, also dead last at 30th. But your starting pitching is number 8 in all of baseball in ERA. And I should note that it's second in the American League, behind only, I think, the White Sox. And that's really impressive. And the guys you have, you mentioned Matthew Boyd, who's off to a fantastic start. But you also got Michael Fulmer, who won Rookie of the Year a couple years ago, Jose Urania, who they just signed, and then Spencer Trimble and Casey Mize, two of the exciting young guys.
Yes, absolutely. So Casey Mize, I love. I think that he's going to have a great season. He has not been off to a great start, but he has things that matter. He's hitting his spots. This kind of goes back to the catcher not being able to frame pitches, but I think that he's doing the right things. He got hit for 3 home runs a couple nights ago, but he was not doing bad through 4 or 5. And even the home runs, I can excuse the home runs because he was still throwing consistent strikes. He's not walking guys. He's not doing that. He's doing all the right things. He's a guy that I hope will hang on for a couple of years. I think that we have the right staff to get him into a good spot over the next couple of years. I think that Turnbull's going to be a little different. I think he's great. I think that he's strong, but I fear that at the trade deadline he's gone.
Ooh,
I do, and the only reason being that we are not a playoff team this year. It's not going to happen, really, regardless of how it goes. I would love to be that skewed Tigers fan. It's like, yes, it is. It's going to all turn around, but it's not. It's not likely. So I think come trade deadline, he still has some really good value, and I think he's going to be very marketable to move on. And I think we have because we're not a playoff team, we have enough of a rotation right now that we can continue the rest of the season without him and get something for him while he still has value. Because I think that, again, because we don't have the offense to help our pitchers numbers will never look fantastic. So if we can get rid of him for something of value while he still has value, then I think that will likely be a good trade at the time. I don't know. It will depend where we are at that time and how things are moving. But I think, the stat that you just gave about what our bullpen's doing versus what our starting pitchers are doing, I think also speaks to our administration and how that's maybe not the best in their ability to make valuable trades at the right time. I can't pinpoint it on saying like they have, I don't think that they have bad picks. I think maybe they have bad timing, but I think maybe it's a little bit of a combination of both in that. But yeah, so that's my guess on Spencer, is that he's gonna I think come trade deadline, he's going to be up.
All right, that's interesting. I wouldn't have known that. That's really good to think about. And teams always need pitching, so there'll be any number of contenders, I'm sure, who will need a rotation piece. What's interesting too is it's a little unfair of me to give an ERA stat for the bullpen, just because those numbers are skewed by one bad outing, and this early, it's kind of meaningless. But looking at the individual guys, there are some guys that are giving up a ton of hits, and that's not what you want for your relievers. Yeah, but I mean, Ryan Garcia is your closer. He seems like he's doing right so far. And then a bunch of names in here. The ones that I recognized were I remember Tyler Alexander, and Gregory Soto. Got a lot of talent.
Soto's been doing all right this year.
Yeah.
So he's a good one to watch. He's got some stuff, which is cool. Yeah, I would say he's probably our go-to on real clutch things.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's not great. It's not great in the bullpen.
But the name that stood out to me too there was Tariq Skubal, who is another huge pitching prospect for you guys, who I guess I didn't realize was currently in the bullpen, because he's usually a starter, if I'm not mistaken, or usually he's a prospect. He in the minor leagues was a starter.
Yeah. So, and I haven't seen it as much this year. Historically, now new manager probably changed this. Historically, Tigers have gone with kind of this, especially under Leland, is they kind of go over this like platoon pitching. So like even our starters would not go as deep into a game as maybe generally a pitcher would. So having those guys, because Norris I think got brought into the bullpen right now recently too, and he's a starter as well. So I think. And I, this is me totally guessing on their thought process on that. But the idea being that if we take some of these starters, because we have an abundance of them, and like Norris, for instance, Norris is one of my favorite guys. And not even for baseball things, because he's good at baseball, he's fine. But his outside baseball life is fascinating. Anyway, so when you take starter quality pitchers, you put them in the bullpen, it allows for some of those times, especially because we have young pitchers, that if we pull them in the fourth, we can bring in a starter caliber pitcher and essentially restart and have a whole fresh thing. So when you take these guys that are historically starters, you put them over there, it relieves some of the pressure on the starters when they know that their backup is also a starter quality pitcher. Now, again, that's my assumption based on historic Tigers, is that platooned pitching. But it's, I don't know. I like to think of it as a strategic play, as opposed to our administration has loaded us up with starters, and what are we going to do with them?
No. I think it's smart. Also, you can never have too many starters. I mean, they break, and you need them. So then there are more, and that's a good problem to have.
Yes. It's a great problem to have. I would much rather have that. I would say it's probably much easier to take a starter and make them a bullpen versus bringing a bullpen up to a starter.
100%.
I don't know the last time I saw that happen. Now that I'm thinking about it, the starter to bullpen I think I see that fairly frequently, but the other way around doesn't happen often.
Just because it takes so long to build your arm up to pitch that many pitches, that you can have somebody open a game, as the Tampa Rays have, made famous, but they're not going to be able to throw 90 pitches unless they build up over the course of months, and no one has time for that during the baseball season. So you kind of are what you are. If you're the long man in the bullpen, then the other day the Yankees did something similar. They had one of their starters who's at the alternate site right now. When he was up, they had him in the bullpen, and he came in. Starter got blitzed, and he came in to make a relief appearance and pitched 6 scoreless innings, and that's not something you see out of the bullpen very often. It is something very valuable that the Tigers clearly have the ability to bring somebody in, either because someone else couldn't get the job done, or because they did get the job done well enough but are done for the day, and to have somebody come in who can give you that quality length that is very valuable. So
For sure. Yeah, no, and actually Norris is another one that was really funny. He was another one like Baду. His very first at bat, his very first pitch of his very first major league at bat, he hit a home run. Which is just, I always just find that fun. That's such a great thing. It's, especially growing up playing baseball, like what a freaking cool moment that would be. It would literally be the first thing you knew about me if that was me. Like it might be the only thing you remember when we finish a conversation is that, oh yeah, that guy hit a home run. That would be it.
Me too. If I ever hit a home run, forget it. If I ever hit a home run in softball, you will hear about it for the rest of my entire life.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. I can't wait to get that call to say you gotta home run. I would certainly not be a Ken Griffey. I'm not keeping a straight face. It's not happening. It's just, of course, I don't have his swing either, so it'll never happen. But
That's amazing.
we actually did. So a couple of years ago, my dad and I did. Tigers do a thing called fantasy camp. I don't know if you've ever. I don't think do the Yankees do it. So it's like it's the best, right? So my dad and I did it a couple of years ago, and so you go and we played like 9 games over 3 days at Comerica Park, and the first night is all under the lights, and it's super cool. And then some of the old World Series guys come and pitch for you, and they pitch batting practice, and it's a blast.
Wow.
So I'm up there, Dave Rose was pitching to me, and I'm standing there just going, that fence is so far away. And so I just remember the first time I made like solid contact, and I'm like, yeah, and it's like I could have like almost run and grabbed it. It was just like right there. It's so different, and I mean, and really like I remember. So my dad and I stood on home plate, and we walked, and we said, okay, don't turn around the whole time, and walk straight to the center field fence, and when you get there, then turn around. After like the hour it took me to get there, it was like we got there. I turned around. I'm like, that home plate's not even in this time zone. It's so far away. And so it gives you a whole different perspective when you watch the game. That these guys are it's just amazing. It's just absolutely amazing to see them do that, and to watch Cabrera hit them and not even come close to the fence and just destroy it. But yeah.
Major leaguers are unbelievably talented, and that is super cool. And I have never done Yankees fantasy camp, although I hope to one day. But I'm pretty sure it's at their spring training complex in Tampa and not in the Bronx. But one day, somehow, I will stand on the baseball field in the Bronx just to stand there, and it's going to be amazing. And I too will marvel at how Aaron Judge broke a TV on the concourse by hitting a ball at home plate.
Right?
Don't know. Seems impossible.
It's amazing. Yeah. Have you seen the picture that was just recently out of Judge? And it was him standing next to Shaq. Have you seen this?
No.
So Judge next to anybody is a beast. He's a monster. And it's a picture of him standing next to Shaq. It's like me and my 4-year-old daughter. Like he just looks small.
Shaq is huge. Shaq is the only person I think who can make Judge look small, because that guy is, not only is he tall, he's just like
he's just
person.
Big.
Yeah.
But no, if you get a chance, look for that picture because it's hysterical.
That's great. Okay, so speaking of hitting home runs and hitting in general, let's talk about that part of your roster, which is totally going to improve as the year goes on. I'm just going to read off what I got here. So we talked about Wilson Ramos at catcher, who we wish could frame. We talked about Miguel Cabrera at first base, who we love. Jonathan Scope backing him up at first base. And then infielders, Willie Castro, Hamer Candelario, Nico Goodrum, and then other Castro, Harold Castro. And then in the outfield, you got Robbie Grossman, Jacoby Jones, Akil Badu, and Victor Reyes. Is that about right?
Yeah. No, that's the most day rotation. Yeah. We have some sound. Well, I say this coming off of last night's game. I don't know if you saw last night's game.
I did not.
The highlights. It looked a little bit like I saw a T-ball game down the street earlier, and it looked very similar. I was watching professional baseball players pick up the ball and just throw it into the stands, like over and over and over again.
Oh no.
Up until last night, we're going to pretend last night didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
And we have a fairly solid defense. I think our lead defense is over at third. Candelario is phenomenal. I mean, we were spoiled for a long time, so it's hard to compare. I mean, we had Jose Iglesias, we had Castellanos, we had one of the greatest shortstop second baseman combinations I've seen in a long time, and it was so fun. Jose Iglesias has one of the greatest ranges in all shortstops.
Very good.
So we had that for a long time, and so it's hard to see what we have now. but no, we have Candelario's over there at third, and he's a pretty strong vacuum over there. And third's a hard position to play, especially in the majors. I mean, that ball's coming in right now. It's just
I
that's
watched,
just
yeah,
that's
yes,
a
I watched Giancarlo Stanton hit a ball through somebody. Like the guy was
yeah.
literally standing there, and Giancarlo is Giancarlo, so it was 120 miles an hour, and it went like through his glove. You can't. How do you catch that?
No, it just doesn't happen. No. So, and I love like our outfield is pretty good. Jacoby Jones is a favorite. He's good. He's fast. He had a play the other night. Holy cow! I think he covered right field to left field and made that catch. It was amazing. He's
Wow.
just So we have. I think the hard part is we have the guys to do this. We just need them to get together and do it. AJ Hinch the other day said something about not to bring it back to hitting, but AJ Hinch the other day said he said, we don't have a team of guys that can't hit. We have a team of guys that are not hitting. And I think he's right for the most part. But I think we have a team of guys that might be able to get it done. Not necessarily. I don't expect them to go super deep in playoffs. I would love for them to just get a playoff at some point. But
Yeah.
we're also in a league that's not going to do that for us. It's not a very friendly league that way. But no, I think our defense is good. We kind of swap out our first baseman. It seems to be a wild card of who's going to be over there each day. But no, I think I don't know. It's exciting. It's exciting to watch. It's frustrating to watch, but it's still baseball. So at the end of the day, it's still fun. It's still great to watch.
I mean, I look at that group of people, and yeah, there's not the guy who you think, have to watch him at the plate, except for now Akil Badu. I kind of feel that way about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, but you're not wrong that I suspect more than one of those guys could become that guy, and that is what this year I think is about for the Tigers is all these guys playing together on the field, so that'll help their defensive chemistry and giving them just a lot of at bats against good major league pitching. And
Yeah.
one of the things about last year that was hard is they only played within their geographical zone. So the Tigers didn't get to see anybody. They didn't get to see two-thirds of the American League. And
Right.
that includes obviously some really good teams. And so I think it'll be really good for those young players, especially this year, to actually get the full gamut of what the league has to offer and really start to figure it out. And that's going to be fun to see, I think.
I do too. I do too. And I think it will be exciting to see, I think, as the team starts to kind of come together. Like we were talking about, we have a young team. So the fact that they missed last year, seeing 2/3 of the league, it's a lot of these guys are seeing it for the first time.
Yeah.
And that's a different beast. I mean, especially when you have some of these guys coming in with, I feel like every day somebody's invented a new pitch. It's hard. If you've never seen it before, I mean, this is the first year I've seen two separate teams throw pitches that they brought in somebody and we're throwing pitches in the 40s and 50-mile-an-hour area. Like,
What?
yeah, that was on, who was that? It was just a couple weeks ago, and they brought in a guy and he threw 46-mile-an-hour pitch. Like, for a strike, he watched it go by because you never see it, right? And not that that's the same thing, but these guys need to come in and they need to see all these pitchers. They spend a lot of time with these different pitchers, and if they're gonna start to make contact, they need to be able to see everything, and they need to be able to see it often, and they need to be able to review it. I think not all of them. I think a handful of them are one strong game away from really being able to have a series of strong games.
Yeah.
But I think Ramos has, I think for a while he was like number 2 in leading in home runs. I don't think he is anymore. I think he fell off a little bit now, but he goes off to a strong start. And then, so, he's always fun. Willie Castro, I think, was supposed to be one of our better hitters, and he's not right now. But I mean, that he has it in him. So he's one of them. That's one good game. I think if he can go 3 for 4 in a game, I think it could really launch him off to being a good series of things. But I think I'm looking at it right now. Our our highest batting average right now is like 264.
Candelario. Yeah.
Area.
Dwarf.
Yeah. And other than that, it's not great. So, Cabrera, like I said, Cabrera is great when he hits home runs, but he's at 171 right now. And you have to still be able to do things in between those home runs, and especially if they're not coming terribly often, then you gotta have something in between there. So it's hard, but you want these guys to do well, obviously for the team, but also for themselves. A lot of these guys they came in and they have expectations of themselves to do well and really support the team. And when they can't do that, it's hard to get out of that funk. And so you need to have a couple of good games under your belt to get that confidence back. And, there's times like I remember feeling it, but I could never really put it into words until I heard Cabrera say it. And Cabrera said, there's days when you see the ball as a beach ball. And then there's other days where it's a golf ball. And the confidence level is what makes that what size it is. And so I think when Cabrera was that whole season, when he was just on fire and couldn't miss, is when he was talking like the ball is always a beach ball. It's massive, and I can see the rotation. I can see every lace. I can count the laces on it, and I can make contact. And then there's other days where it's a marble, and you just swing and hope for the best. So I think you got to have a couple of those strong games in a row, and I think you could set something off. And I think a couple of these guys have the ability to do it. It's hard to not get down on it a little bit when it's consecutively not happening, but it's you got to hold out hope that at some point that's going to trigger, and hopefully it comes earlier in the season than later. I mean, we're only 25, 26 games in right now. We have some room to go. So hopefully we can do it before the rest of the league really starts running away, so we can have something to grab onto.
Yeah, I'm into it. I'm so excited to watch your young players start to really figure it out. That's fun to watch eventually. And frustrating, but also fun.
But also fun.
So you kind of already talked about this a little bit, but talk to me a little about what you think the kind of best and worst case scenarios this season are for your Tigers.
Yeah, so we'll start with best so that we can end with a good note. So I think best case scenario, I don't think we have a chance of making playoffs this year. I don't think it's in the cards for us, unless something miraculous happens around the trade deadline and there's things that move. But right now, I don't know that we have the guys to trade to get anything that's going to make that happen. So I think best case scenario, we end up with between, we'll say 98 and 105 losses. We'll go in there. We'll go in that range. And I think, unfortunately, that's best case scenario, but that's still better than last year. But I think from what we're seeing right now, they're only showing slightly better than last year anyway. So I think that would be nice. I think worst case scenario, the things really fall off. I don't think that we'll be necessarily worse than last year. I do think that this will be a team that we look back on years from now and we say that was probably the worst offense that we've had in a while. And it hurts me to say that because I don't want that to be the case. I so don't want that to be the case. And I'm trying to find good things, but what I'm finding good right now is coming out of our pitching and not out of our hitting, unfortunately. So I think best case scenario, we have 100 losses, and worst case scenario, we're at 112, 115 area.
Okay. Well, I think that's a very realistic view. And it's always nice to be pleasantly surprised if they do end up doing better than that. But yeah, I think that you're right that the victory for the Tigers this season isn't going to be in the standings. It's going to be in the development, and that doesn't show up in wins and losses most of the time. So there's that. Tell me now, too, is there somebody other than Akil Badu who I don't know, who I should be excited about specifically to watch, either because you think they're really good, or you think they're really interesting, or they got a fun story?
So I would have said Badu because
Yeah, I know, I'm sorry, I stole it.
Yeah, no, he's my guy right now. Like, he's just fun to watch. I think outside of him, Cabrera is always going to be on that list, right? Because he's always on the edge of doing something great. And I hope that he gets it together enough this year to hit that next home run milestone. I think he's getting there, but he's still got like 30 to go this season. So it's, yeah, like we're going to take a big breath and we're going to hope for the best. I think as that closes in, I think he tends to pick up pace when he's closing in on it, which is cool. So I think as he gets a little bit closer, I think when he gets within like 20, I think he'll be fun to tune in on, because I think it'll kind of set off a chain reaction, and I think he'll get a couple more. And on top of that, I think that that best case scenario version happens when he starts to do that, because I think he will set off a chain reaction with some of these other guys. We know these guys can hit. We know they can hit for power. I mean, our slugging percentage right now is, for our big guys, is big. I mean, I know it's early in the season, so that number's a little skewed, but we'd have guys that can do it, right? So Baду can do it, obviously. Ramos can obviously do it. Cabrera can do it. So I hope that when Cabrera starts getting closer, he can set off that chain reaction that we're going to need to get that best case scenario. And if for no other reason than to just get our pitchers good numbers, because poor pitchers right now, it just isn't there. So, but I will say outside of baseball, because I know the lifestyle stuff is kind of fun too. Daniel Norris has like the most interesting story in all of baseball pitchers outside of baseball. He lives in a van. Like literally, yeah, right. He, in the off season, he lives in a van. For a while, it was out in California. He spent some time in Hawaii. He's a photographer, so most of his like Instagram is just like really cool photography. He's a super weird guy, and it's fantastic, and I love it. For a long time, he still got a little bit, but he had this like massive beard that he had for a long. Like he's just a cool guy. Like he loves, at least as far as I can tell, he loves the old timey baseball. Like he still rocks the high pants and the cool socks, and the like. He's just an interesting guy. I wish he would get it together a little bit more, because when he first came on, he was cooking. A couple years ago, he came on, he was throwing hard, he was doing great. Got injured pretty early on, and I think that kind of hindered him, from what I can remember. Hopefully I'm not mistaking that with somebody else, but he's just an interesting guy. Like off the field, he's somebody that's just fun to see what he's up to.
All right. This is great. So here's what I'm going to watch. I'm going to watch Akil Badu for talent. I'm going to watch Miguel Cabrera for narrative. And I'm going to watch Daniel Norris for aura.
Yes, I love that. That's perfect. That's a great description.
I'm really excited about all of them, and that's going to be great. All right. Moving on, though, we started to talk a little bit about Comerica. So I'm interested. I've never been. I have a goal to go to all the stadiums, but that has gotten put on hold by, world events. So
right.
Sometime I will travel again, and Detroit will be on my list. I've never been at all to Detroit, so I should go there anyway, for goodness sakes. And Absolutely. One thing I will do while there is go to the district, which I've just learned about, and go to Comerica Park. So You've clearly been. So tell me, what do you think of your stadium?
So I'm gonna do a history thing first, because because some of it translated, which was super cool. Okay, so Tigers. So prior to Comerica Park, we had Tiger Stadium. Tiger Stadium had developed over many years, and one of the unique things about Tiger Stadium was we have a thing called K-Line's Corner. And what it is in right field, there's this weird cutout in the middle of the field that now in right field, for those that don't play, it's like when a ball comes to you with a right-handed batter and the ball is coming to you in right field, it's not coming to you. It's going to start over there and it's going to end over there, and you have to track it all the way around. So what was cool is the way that this corner is cut out, that it would come in and it would bounce, and it would go bounce off this wall, bounce off that wall, and it had a weird thing. So K-Line was fantastic at knowing where that was going to bounce and getting it immediately. Awesome. It became like the staple. It was like the thing. Fast forward to Comerica Park, and they kept it. They rebuilt it. They rebuilt K-Line's Corner, which is like the coolest. Yeah. So I love it. And Comerica Park is a really interesting park in general. It's massive and it's new, right? So it's newer now, but it's such an experience. And I think, the district in general, and I think Detroit gets I'm going to get on my Detroit high horse for a second. Outside of outside of Detroit, it's such a bad rap. Like it's always perceived as being this dangerous place, and every person that's ever come here and spent any time goes, this is not what I was told. It's because it's not. Now, don't get me wrong, those areas exist, but so does it in any city, right? It's the same thing. I'm not going to go to South Chicago, right? I'm not going to go wander around down there. So it has its areas, but where this is the coolest setup of I would say any sports city, at least the ones that I've been to, because within sight, I can stand on one corner. I can have Comerica here, I can have Ford Field there, and I can have Little Caesars over here that holds Red Wings and Pistons. And it is just cool. And they're still battling this, but they're trying to put our Detroit Football Club soccer on the other corner to really like bring it all together. And everything from there is walking distance to the casinos and to the and everything. So everything is there, and it's just cool. Like this time of year, right now, they do multi-game tickets. So they time it so that you go to an afternoon game of the Tigers, leave there and go to a Red Wings game. And they partner up and they do it. And it's the coolest. And it's just so much fun. And the district is cool. Detroit is cool. It's such a fun place. And we have some really big names that have come into the city and really built up what it is. And they've dumped hundreds of millions of dollars into making it a better place. And they've really cleaned it up. And it's just such a fun place. I hope that you do come into town. And we'd love to go to a game. Just say the word and we'll go, and it'll be a blast. And it's just such a unique experience. Comerica is a cool place in general. I've had a really good fortune. I've been very fortunate that I worked with our radio announcer for the Tigers. His name's Jim Price. And we worked with him for his son has autism, and we did a race with them. And so we did this race for autism, and he has an organization called Jack's Place, and it's super cool. And they really try and help families. So we did some races with them. And some of the guys would show up and stretch with you in the morning before the race, and they'd bring the mascot, we'd bring paws down, and they do a whole thing. But because of that, we got to meet, we really kind of became friends with Jim, and he was a fantastic guy. And so we got to go up and sit in the suites. And so I've got to watch, I don't know, 4 or 5 games from the suites. And it's just cool. And I think that kind of speaks to what I was saying earlier. The players are just accessible. They're just, in general, they're just available to do things, and they're willing to do things, and they're big advocates for the city. And we've been very fortunate that guys have come in. Verlander was a big one for this. And he came in and he became a voice for the city, and he got people to come down to games, and he got people to hang out in the city and spend money in the city and really start building it back up. And I think Detroit is a really cool place because of our sports. We are very much a sports city. We've for a long time had very, very powerful teams in no matter what sport we were doing. Maybe not the Lions, we'll discount them. But other than them, we had the Pistons in 05. Now I know that's going back quite a ways, but in 05, the NBA All-Star starting lineup was the Pistons starting lineup. It was it was cool. And we had the Red Wings that went to the playoffs 24, 25 years in a row. And then we've always had the Tigers, who were always competitive. They'd have streaky years and they'd go back and forth, but they were always fun to watch. And it's such an experience. And I think baseball in general, and I know you feel it too when you're in New York, but I think part of it is because it's an outdoor thing. And I think that, our football team is inside because it's Michigan and it's cold. And football takes place in a cold season. So, but baseball being outside, I think, has a different level of excitement because there's just more you can do. There's a level of camaraderie among people when they're doing things that are not beyond their beyond their means. You can go and have an incredible time, and for $50 you've just had the greatest day that you can have, and it's just cool. And Comerica's a great place. They made it accessible for kids, so the kids can come and have fun, get excited. We have a freaking Ferris wheel in the middle of Comerica, right? Like, it's right. So it's fun. They make it fun for kids to get kids excited about it, so they can maintain that fanship forever. And I'm glad that they did what they did. And Comerica, don't get me wrong, it has its faults, but it's a great addition to the city. It really is. And I'm very passionate about the Detroit area in general, because I just feel like I feel like outside of it, you can't, like, I lived down in Florida for a long time, and we used to always hear like, oh, you're from Detroit, like, what's that like? It's great. It's fantastic. And so it's so much fun. I enjoy bringing people to the city for the first time and having them just be like, this is not what I thought we were going to get.
That I love every single thing you just said. I cannot wait to be brought to Detroit. I'm expecting it to be incredible. So I will be.
It will live up. Yeah, it'll
Um,
live up.
I have two follow-up questions. The first of which is, can adults ride the Ferris wheel? Is that allowed?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it should be required.
I must do that. That is thrilling. And my second follow-up question is, if I go to a Tigers game, I probably want to go when they're playing somebody else, not the Yankees, so I can root for the Tigers to win, because the home team winning is fun. But if I went when they were playing the Yankees as a Yankees fan, how are Detroit fans to opposing fans? Because I preface this by saying, in Yankee Stadium, people can be real jerks sometimes. Not all the time, and I am not. I love to chat with opposing fans, learn about their teams, as I'm doing right now. But some people can be rude. So my question to you is, what's the vibe for visiting fans in Comerica?
Yeah, so I would say I have never witnessed anything negative.
Wow.
I think that, there's always going to be that poking, if somebody's sitting there with a jersey, right? But I think I you know with outside of the outliers, which is going to be those people that came to drink and apparently spend millions of dollars, because that's what it takes to feel like that with drinking at ballpark prices. But I think that I think there's a level of baseball fandom that takes place at Comerica, and I think that I think because, especially now when our team has suffered for a little bit, I think there's an appreciation for the game with the people that are there. I think that because Comerica has made it so accessible, our general fan is a general fan. They're not necessarily this diehard, and I don't think it's the getting too out of control. Now, if we're talking playoff time, it's pretty rowdy, right? But as it should be, because at that point you have real fans, because they're paying real money to get there. So, I think that's different. But no, I think there's a strong bond between Tigers fans in the city of Detroit. I think that we're very similar to you guys in the way that our Old English D is very much like your Yankee logo, right? There's a pride that goes with that, and I think that there's a strong bond between teams that have been around for as long as our teams have. There's a different level of excitement that takes place around a baseball game being a baseball game, not necessarily the teams that are battling it out right now. Heat of a moment, absolutely, there's going to be things, but no, I think overall, I think it's just a good atmosphere. It's fun. Anything I've never witnessed anything more than just like, oh hey, how's your team? But even that we can't really say, because generally
I have very vivid memories of going to a sports bar in New York City during the playoffs, because at that time I didn't have cable TV, to watch the Tigers absolutely dismantle the Yankees. I think it was 2012. Is that right?
yeah
I mean, I just
yeah
remember like, what is happening and why can't anybody get a hit off of these pitchers? As you said earlier, insane rotation. So it'll come around again to that point. But in the meantime, that's exciting. And I'm thrilled to get to Comerica and meet some baseball general fans who love the atmosphere in the game.
absolutely
Uh, I
absolutely
I have one more question about the ballpark, which is, Food and drink are important to me in my life and also in the ballpark. Yep. So is there any kind of specialty food or drink that is unique to Comerica or just that is something that is a must eat or drink at the stadium?
So, so Michigan, I'm going to get this stat wrong, so we'll have to fact check this. But so uh, Michigan is one of the biggest beer states
Mhm.
in the country, right? Like we are when microbreweries started to kind of become a thing, everybody in our state that had a beard was like, that's what I do now. And so we just have like a million of them, which is super cool for those of us that really like to try different ones. But what they did was they actually took and they made an entire area that is just craft beer from all over Michigan. And
Whoa.
so you can literally go down the line. Now, conveniently, at that same place, you can also get what I always tell people they have to get when they go to Comerica, which is bacon on a stick, which sound right. So it's a maple glazed bacon on a stick,
I
and
want
you can get it at the same place as all the craft beer. So in with standing in one line, you really get the best of both worlds.
I want all that.
Yep.
That's where I will be. You'll find me at the beer and bacon stand.
Yeah. Perfect.
That was a great answer. Thank you. I'm now both hungry and thirsty and want to go to a baseball game. So this
Yeah.
succeeded.
So in other words, it's like any other day. It's great.
Yes, you got me. That is entirely correct. Food, drink, beer, food, drink, baseball, and beer. So uh last thing is we've already referenced him. You have a mascot, and he is Paws the Tiger. And first off, I want to say, thank goodness he's a tiger because some teams have a really obvious thing and they just don't do it, and it's baffling.
Right.
So I would be really kind of mad if they had such a great mascot idea that didn't come to fruition. So we do have a tiger. Um, classic looking tiger with shoes and a jersey and a hat. That's cool. Now, I will say I noticed that they stylize his name in all caps, which at first I thought meant that it stood for something. Like, is it an acronym for like, I don't know. I can't think of it.
Not that I know of, but I will say that often when he goes to schools to do events, they will make it an acronym for something, and it's usually built around like some event that they're doing. I've seen that a couple times.
Cool.
Paws is a really cool mascot. I mean, again, it ties into the name, which is way cooler than you can say with a handful of teams around the league, right? But no, he's again Tigers. I will say for the things that the front office don't get right all the time, they're really good at raising awareness of the team and getting people excited about the team and doing community engagement. So I think I like I would actually have a hard time going to let's say I went to 10 events throughout the summer. I would guess that Paws would be at 8 of them.
Wow.
Like I feel like everywhere I go, he's there. So like yeah, so like when we did the race, he was there. When like I've seen him at schools, he's at elementaries, he's at events, he's at everything. And it's just he's a great mascot, right? And he's goofy just enough. So
Yeah.
he's not like a certain fanatic that is nuts and crazy, right? But he's also fun. Like he'll do dance offs and things like that. But he's there and he's fun and he's exciting and he's nothing too crazy.
That's what you want in a mascot. And frankly, if I were a kid, so as a kid, and as an adult, but sort of when I was a kid, I love Muppets and puppets and big animals. I don't know. I was a stuffed animal freak. I still have a lot of them. They're amazing. So I would, if a big tiger mascot came to an event and I figured out that he was with a baseball team, I would immediately demand to go to that baseball game to see that tiger again. So I feel like this is a great marketing strategy for kids. A, and
Mhm.
B, I was reading his bio on the Tigers website because he does have his own little page. And I learned two things I learned. The first one was that the height they have listed for him is 20 stripes tall, which I think is a delightful way to describe anyone's height, personally.
Yep.
And I'm really hoping it's accurate. I'm hoping that he actually has 20 stripes going up because I'll be disappointed if that's not.
That probably is accurate. It sounds about right.
And the second thing I learned, and you've just made this clear to me because I wrote down this favorite food is listed as Little Caesars pizza. And I was like, that is so random. What the heck is that? And then you just told me it's the name of the other stadium.
Yeah. Yeah. Little Caesars is big around here. That's like, I mean, that is the like staple of our sports. Like they sponsor everything.
I don't think I've ever had a Little Caesars pizza. Was their slogan the like the guy with the pizza?
Pizza. Yeah. I can imagine how that marketing team came up with that. Boy, have I got an idea. Hear me out. We're going to say pizza twice.
I mean, I remembered it and I haven't seen that commercial in like decades. So clearly
It worked, right?
although maybe it didn't work because I've also never had Little Caesars pizza, so it didn't succeed in selling the product. But at least it was memorable, which is half the battle.
Yeah, yeah. You would think that we were far more Italian around here with the number of pizza chains that have like all originated or have their headquarters here. Like, I mean, like Little Caesars started here. Domino's headquarters is here.
Oh.
Like, you would think that we were far more fake Italian than we are, but
I feel like most of America is pretty fake Italian. We all love a good pizza, so that's we've stolen that one right away. That's ours now. Thanks, Italy. Amazing. Okay, so I have one more thing before I let you go because you've been with me for a lovely long time. I don't want to take up your entire night. Before I do that, though, is there anything else about the Tigers that you want to make sure you say?
So I will say that although I think the last 5 years of rebuilding has been a little long, I do feel like we have, I think that we can turn the corner. I don't think it'll be immediate. It's not going to be this year. I think that in the next couple of years, we're going to start to turn the corner. But I think that we have some guys that are going to help lead that way. I will be very curious to see what happens as we offload Cabrera's contract. And not to blame it on that. That seems to kind of get the blame a lot for why we haven't had bigger names. But Cabrera was also on the team when we had Verlander and Scherzer and Pfister. And so it's not that, right? But I'll be curious. I think that I will be interested to see what happens with our front office come trade deadline. I think that they're going to make some moves. And I think that this year they may not be the best thing to watch, but I think that we're only a couple years away from being able to make a real run with a lot of the guys that we have. So I think individually our pitching is worth watching, and I think overall we're getting there.
So you heard it here first, everybody. You should start watching the Tigers right now because they have their core in place for their next really great team. And it wouldn't be fun to say that you watched them when they lost 100 games before leapfrogging everybody else and winning the division very soon.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll go with that.
I'm going to watch Tigers for that reason. It's going to be great. Okay, so if you will indulge me, I have got a game I would like to play, and it is going to be very simple, no stress. And it is called the matchup game.
All right.
It's a play off the match game, but it's nothing like the match game. I just stole the title, but nothing else. So behind me, I have 4 baseball caps. And in those baseball caps, I have the names of players. One of them has the Tigers pitchers, one has the Tigers hitters, and the same for the Yankees. And what I would like to do is I will draw 5 different batter and pitcher matchups. And I would like each of us to predict an outcome of that at bat. For example, if it were, Tariq Skubal and Aaron Judge, I could say that I think Aaron Judge is going to ground out weekly to second base. I mean, I wouldn't say that, but I could say that. Or I could say he's going to hit a home run. And what I will do is I will track all these responses and I will track all their at-bats. And every time the combination picked has the result one of us selected, that person gets a point. And then whoever has the most points at the end of the 7 games we play this year, 6, 7, that person will be bought a beer by the losing person at the next baseball game we attend together.
That's fair. I like that.
And I will caveat this with, in only 6 or 7 games, it's very possible we'll both have 0 points. But
yeah.
That's the fun.
Health plagues Detroit about halfway through the season, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, the second series, maybe everyone we picked will have been traded. So it's
we might have to do this again and re-talk.
Next time we're playing, we're gonna be like, so who's on your team now? I don't know any of these people. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah.
But for now, because your team is the home team in this particular video, is all about the Tigers. Would you rather have 3 hitters on the Tiger side or 3 pitchers on the Tiger side?
Let's take pitchers because our offense is scary.
Right. Yeah, you can predict more positive outcomes with your pitching. I'm with that. All right. So I've got my caps right here. And I'm going to start by, therefore, picking a Tigers pitcher and see who we get. All right. We have Spencer Turnbull.
Ooh, look at that. It's like you predicted it.
And I'm going to see who he'll be facing. And that person is Kyle Higashioka, who is our backup catcher, but I should say that he's currently our catcher because he's hitting like crazy at this precise moment. So he is a righty. Turnbull's also a righty. Yeah, this is a tough one. What do you think?
All right, so I will go with and we're just doing a singular at bat. Is that all right?
But yeah, pick one thing that's gonna happen, but you have every time they meet up, that thing could happen. So you end up with 10 points. Who knows?
Okay. All right, I'll do let's see. I think he's gonna go let's go strikeout. We're gonna go real basic here. We're gonna go strikeout, and I'll take it one more, and I think it'll be a strikeout in 5 pitches.
Ooh, damn. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna give you a point for any strikeout, but if it's on 5 pitches, you get 2 points. That's the rule I just made up. So way to go.
Yeah.
A bonus challenge.
It's your game. You can make up any rule you want.
I sure can. That's the joy. Super. Well, I'm torn, but I think what I'm going to end up going with here is I'm going to go with a double to left.
All right.
He's got some sneaky pop in that bat, and he's actually hitting for average too right now. No, is that going to last? Oh, but we'll see. Okay. Now, grabbing a Yankees pitcher out of my hat. And that lucky pitcher is Domingo Germán, who is actually starting tonight's game for us. He had a pretty good game, I think. He's a righty starter. That's all I got. And
all right,
he shall be facing Hamer Candelario, one of your best hitters.
Yeah.
Who is a switch hitter.
I'm gonna go.
Right.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go. Candelario hits single to center up the middle.
Gorge. That seems perfectly likely to me. I will go with Candelario. You know, I'm gonna give him a hit off of Germán as well. I'm gonna give him a double to right.
All right. I like it.
I just called 2 straight doubles, but you know what? I'm just seeing double today, apparently. All right. Next Tigers pitcher on the mound is Matthew Boyd.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we like that. And what do we think he's gonna do against?
He's gonna strike him out, whoever it is.
Well, I'm throwing this away because who I picked was Jay Bruce, and he is retired, so that is out.
Yeah, no, that's out. Unless you pull up Judge, it's a strikeout.
I did not pull up Judge. I pulled out Luke Voigt, who is on his way back. He's not going to be playing this series, so that might be challenging for us. But in the second series of the year.
So, all right. So here's what I'm going to say. I think, because I'm going to get specific again. Here's the thing I like about Boyd. And so I'm going to add it into this because I didn't mention it earlier. Boyd is a first pitch strike thrower, which is huge. That is massively important in pitching because as soon as you get that first strike in, your game just opens up. All your other pitches have just opened up. So I'm going to say he will strike him out on 4 pitches, and the first one will be a strike.
Ooh, man, you are just giving yourself all kinds of bonus material here. Okay. I buy it. Because I miss Luke Voigt and we really need him to be hitting, I'm giving him a home run. And I know it's unlikely, but that's when he hits.
Right.
So if he makes good contact, it'll go.
It's like Cabrera. if he hits, it's gonna go. It's just all those times that he doesn't.
Yeah, and also he's coming off an injury, and I feel like he's no, he shouldn't really affect his hitting too much, but I feel like he's going to come back on a mission, and I am hopeful that he'll really produce. But you know what? Time will tell. We'll see.
Yeah, that's
So
fair.
strikeout, home run, both things that he does. I feel those are both very feasible outcomes.
Yeah, I'm in. I like it.
I'm into. All right, now Yankees pitching. We've got Corey Kluber.
Oh,
He's pretty good a lot of the time.
yeah, it's gonna be a strikeout too. Just
I don't know. Against Harold Castro.
yeah, that's a strikeout. That's yeah, probably in 3. It's not gonna go well.
Okay.
Maybe 4. He might foul one off, but I'm gonna go in 3.
All right. I'm gonna give Castro a little more credit, but I'm still not giving him a hit though. I think that he is going to. You know what? I think he's going to. No, I'll go fly out to right. It's gonna land in Judge's.
That would have been my second guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect. All right, we got one more. We got.
But you got him out of the infield. I would have just done pop up straight away. So you got him out at least out of the infield.
I did. I give him a little credit. All right. So now last one here. We got Tigers pitcher Gregory Soto, reliever lefty. And what will he do against Gary Sanchez, our other catcher?
All right. Let's see. He's got good stuff. Depends on what inning he comes in. I'm gonna go. He will. I think that will become a ground out to second.
Yeah. My inclination is actually to say strikeout, but I really, not because I don't think Gary's great. I'm a big Gary Sanchez believer. So you know what? I'm not gonna say strikeout. I'm gonna give Gary. I think he's gonna make it out though against Soto. I think I'm gonna give him a nice long fly ball to left.
All right, that's fair.
Like maybe warning track, but doesn't all of it.
It doesn't quite get over there. Like just enough for him to get up hope.
Yeah, I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
That's me. Okay, well, that was great. These are really good. I will put these into my very dorky spreadsheet, and I will let you know if we get any points over the next series and then the one that's later on in the year. So
fair enough. All right. So before we end, I have to show off my cool thing.
Oh my God, please.
Because there's only a few people around my area that appreciate it, and it's big. So tell me if it doesn't fit in the screen. This hangs in my house very proudly. So I don't know if you can tell, but that's Joe DiMaggio sliding into third. And I gotta get my screen here moved. But this is one of my favorite pictures in my house. And it's got a long story on how I even acquired it, but it's just the coolest. And so here's my thing. I'm going to give you one more history thing that you have to do. There is a Facebook page that is I have no idea who runs it. I don't know. They don't post terribly often, but it is called Baseball in Color. And this guy colorizes old pictures, and he has been colorizing these pictures of Babe Ruth and some of these guys that we rarely ever see color pictures. And it's all these guys hanging out together in color. It is the coolest. And it's a Facebook page called Baseball in Color. It's awesome. But on that same note, things like this, if you look through the Library of Congress, you can find glass slides, and the glass slides from the early 1900s come out with clarity like that, and you can get massively blown up, amazing pictures. So there's my big tip. I was so proud when you said this. I was like, I have to show her this picture. It's the coolest.
Love that. I mean, Joe DiMaggio is so iconic, of course, and just baseball in motion is a sight to behold. The stills like that are incredible. The sport gives us so many amazing photographs, and now I'm gonna go try and find one for myself because that's so neat.
It's the coolest. It's so much fun. So
Yay.
yes. Well,
Well,
thank you. This
thank
was so much fun.
you. This was awesome. I have learned so much about the Tigers. I am so excited to watch them play. And I am so excited to eventually come to Detroit and go to Comerica with you and go on a Ferris wheel and eat some bacon.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the best. I can't wait. I can't wait for you to get in here, get into town, and let's go.
You'll be the first to know.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, well, until then, have a great baseball season, and I hope this is a fun series for us to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully we'll check in like after game two and we'll just see how things are going and or if things are as bad as they might be, I just won't.
You'll hear from me, but I'll be nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Have a great night, okay?
Yes, you too.
Bye.
See ya.